Hey guys, it's the Heavy Five, and we have to talk about hardcore. Hardcore has, of course, exploded in recent years, thanks in large part to the success of Baltimore, Maryland's Turnstile, who are a great band who kind of play what I would describe as a kind of a psychedelic indie rock version of hardcore. But their success has catapulted dozens of hardcore bands to more mainstream popularity. In fact, hardcore is more popular than it has ever been. Bands like Knocked Loose and Speed and Drain are filling very big sized theaters that previous generations of hardcore bands could only have dreamt of. But today I want to talk about the 5 most important hardcore records of all time. Now, important to note that a lot of those bands that I just mentioned, not necessarily Turnstile, Knocked Loose certainly, Drain certainly, Speed certainly, are all heavily influenced by metal. There's a metallic edge, a metallic distortion to their playing that didn't exist in earlier hardcore. Hardcore came out of punk rock. It was a hardcore punk is where hardcore began. So these 5 records are definitively hardcore punk, but definitely paved the way for what we know to be hardcore today. I'm going to go in chronological order, starting in Los Angeles, California, specifically Hermosa Beach, California, with the debut LP by Black Flag from 1981, It Is Damaged. Greg Ginn's angular, very arty guitar playing isn't really as noticeable in today's hardcore, but the intensity of the music, the aggression in the music, and specifically Henry Rollins has had a massive influence on today's hardcore. The muscular, tattooed, intense, hyper-serious frontman is a hardcore staple. The long hair, the shirtless, shorts-wearing, barefoot dude. Henry set the archetype for what hardcore singers were to become. At number 2, we are going to Washington, D.C. in 1983 for Bad Brains' Rock for Light. Now, the Roar cassette is definitely a more important document in terms of the Bad Brains impact, but I think Rock for Light is the one that has had sonically the most influence on today's hardcore. Very fast, played very aggressively, super intense, an incredible record. Everything the Bad Brains did is excellent in my opinion, but I think Rock for Light is the one that needs to be included on this list. We're going to stay in D.C. for number 3, and we're going to stay in 1983 as well for Minor Threat's first proper LP, Out of Step. Minor Threat, of course, not only one of the best hardcore bands of all time, but one of the best bands, period, of all time. And Out of Step is really the record where some of the melody comes out and not losing any of the intensity. The playing is great. Massive impact on today's music, but I think specifically for today's hardcore, the really positive message, the really personal lyrics, of course, all the straight edge stuff is still really prevalent today. So Minor Threat obviously has to be on this list. And now on to New York, as the Bad Brains did, starting with Agnostic Front and their debut LP, Victim in Pain, from 1984. Agnostic Front, legends, probably New York's best ever hardcore band, and their intensity and aggression and impact, you wouldn't have today's hardcore without Agnostic. They are still doing it to this day. And Victim in Pain is definitively a punk record. It's before they would cross over on Cause for Alarm and get really metallic and kind of a more metal sound. But Victim in Pain, I think, is the one that has to be on the 5 list. And then at number 5, we're going to stay on the Lower East Side of New York City for the Cro-Mags debut LP, Age of Quarrel. And this is where things do start to get very metal. There's a lot of metal on this record. Paris, the guitar player in Cro-Mags, was a metal guy, and you can certainly hear it on Age of Quarrel. But the vocals of John Joseph, of course, Harley Flanagan, and their image alone, the super tough guy, very aggressive, kind of male energy, super prevalent in hardcore today, and it has to be on the list. There are tons of other incredible hardcore records that I didn't talk about. Some of them are my favorites, but I think in terms of the 5 most important, in terms of heaviness and what influenced today's hardcore, I think those are the 5 that absolutely have to be on the list. So that's it for this time. Thanks for watching. Stay heavy.